Captain Jake Miller stared at the screens in Luna Base, Earth's primary space monitoring station. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he couldn't look away from what the sensors were showing him. 300 alien ships were heading straight for Earth, and they would arrive in less than 6 hours. "Lisa, run those numbers again," Jake said to his communications officer. Lisa Park had been working at her station since the first signals appeared on their deep space scanners. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard as she confirmed what they all feared. "It's confirmed, Captain. 300 vessels, each one bigger than our largest battleship. They're coming from the outer system and they're not slowing down." Lisa's voice stayed calm, but Jake could see her hands shaking slightly. Ben Hayes, their tactical analyst, looked up from his computer. "Sir, I've been studying their formation. This isn't a peaceful visit. They're arranged in a classic attack pattern. Whatever these aliens want, they're ready for a fight." Jake picked up his communication device and opened a channel to Earth. "Luna Base to Earth Command. This is Captain Miller. We have confirmed hostile contact. I repeat, we have confirmed hostile contact." General Amy Stone's voice came through the speaker immediately. She had been waiting for this call. "Copy that, Luna Base. How long do we have?" 6 hours until they reach Earth orbit, General. Maybe less." There was silence for a moment. Jake knew what the general was thinking. Earth's space fleet consisted of 12 ships, most of them designed for exploration rather than combat. Against 300 alien warships, they didn't stand much of a chance. "Jake, I need you to gather all the information you can about these ships. Any weakness, any pattern, anything that might help us. We're not going down without a fight." "Understood, General. We'll send you everything we have." As Jake ended the communication, he looked around at his team. They were scared, but they were also determined. This was their job, and they would do it well. Meanwhile, aboard the lead alien ship, Admiral Kextar was reviewing the intelligence reports about Earth. The planet looked like any other primitive world they had conquered. The inhabitants had basic nuclear technology and simple space travel, but nothing that could threaten a Zeltharian fleet. "Commander Vextos, what do our scouts report about their military capabilities?" Admiral Kextar asked his second-in-command. "The humans have approximately 12 space vessels, Admiral. Their weapons are primitive projectile systems and basic energy weapons. Our shields should easily protect us from anything they can produce." Admiral Kextar nodded. This would be another routine conquest. The Zeltharian Council had been expanding across the galaxy for 3,000 years, and Earth would just be another addition to their empire. Most species surrendered quickly when they saw the size of a Zeltharian fleet. Those that didn't were usually defeated within days. "Open a communication channel to the planet," the Admiral ordered. "Let's give them a chance to surrender before we begin the bombardment." Back on Earth, General Amy Stone stood in the command center, surrounded by military leaders from every nation. The old divisions between countries meant nothing now. Humanity faced extinction, and they would face it together. "The alien fleet will be in communication range in 30 minutes, reported Colonel Grace Turner, the head of Earth's Space Defense Forces. "All our ships are ready for battle, but General, we're badly outnumbered." "I know, Grace, but we're not going to make this easy for them. Every ship, every pilot, every soldier knows what they're fighting for. That has to count for something." Captain Steve Davis, leader of Earth's Special Operations Forces, stepped forward. "General, my teams are ready. If any of those alien ships make it to the surface, we'll be waiting for them." Dr. Elena Ross, Earth's leading expert on technology and physics, had been studying the alien ships through long-range sensors. "General, I'm seeing some interesting patterns in their ship designs. They seem to follow very logical, predictable engineering principles. That might be something we can use." The communication came exactly when expected. The alien admiral's voice filled the command center, speaking in perfect English. Somehow they had learned human languages. "People of Earth," the alien voice said. "I am Admiral Kextar of the Zeltharian Empire. Your planet has been selected for integration into our galactic civilization. Surrender now, and your species will be preserved. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond." General Stone looked around at the faces in the command center. She saw fear, but she also saw something else. She saw anger, determination, and a stubborn refusal to give up. This was humanity at its core. "Open a response channel," she ordered. "Admiral Kextar," General Stone said, her voice carrying to the alien fleet. "This is General Amy Stone of Earth Defense Command. We have received your message and we have an answer for you. Earth is not for sale, and humanity does not surrender. If you want our planet, you'll have to take it from us. Aboard the alien flagship, Admiral Kextar was surprised. Most species tried to negotiate or asked for more time. This direct refusal was unusual, but not particularly concerning. They would learn. Begin the attack, he ordered. The battle for Earth began with a display of alien firepower that lit up the night sky. Energy beams tore through space as the Zeltharian fleet engaged Earth's small defense force. Captain Jake Miller and his team watched from Luna Base as humanity's ships fought desperately against impossible odds. But something strange began to happen. Earth's ships didn't fight like other species the Zeltharians had conquered. When a human ship was damaged, instead of retreating or surrendering, it would charge straight at the nearest alien vessel. Human pilots would eject from their dying ships at the last second, manually triggering their reactors to explode and damage nearby enemy ships. "What are they doing?" Commander Vextos asked, watching human ships sacrifice themselves to take out single alien vessels. Admiral Kextar frowned as he watched the tactical display. "They're fighting like they have nothing to lose." On Earth's surface, the first alien landing craft broke through the atmosphere. They were met by human forces that fought with a ferocity that shocked the Zeltharian ground troops. Humans didn't retreat when faced with superior weapons. They found cover, adapted their tactics, and kept fighting. Captain Steve Davis led his team against an alien landing site outside New York. His soldiers used everything from military weapons to improvised explosives. When their ammunition ran low, they picked up rocks and pieces of metal, using anything they could find as weapons. "These humans are insane," one Zeltharian soldier reported back to his command ship. "They keep attacking even when they're clearly outmatched. I've never seen anything like it." As the first day of battle ended, Admiral Kextar reviewed the casualty reports. The Zeltharians were winning, but they were losing more ships and soldiers than expected. Much more. Something was wrong with this conquest, and the Admiral was beginning to suspect that Earth would not be the easy victory they had planned. 3 weeks had passed since the Zeltharian fleet arrived at Earth, and Admiral Kextar was beginning to understand that this conquest was unlike any other in his long military career. He stood in his command center, studying reports that made no sense according to everything he knew about warfare. "Admiral," Commander Vextos said, holding a data pad with the latest intelligence, "the humans have done something impossible. They've reverse-engineered our shield technology and installed it on their remaining ships." Admiral Kextar took the report and read it carefully. According to his engineers, it should take any species at least 50 years to understand Zeltharian technology, let alone improve upon it. "The humans had done it in 3 weeks. How is this possible?" the Admiral asked. "We're not sure, sir. Our scientists are studying the human modifications, and they're finding improvements we never considered. The humans aren't just copying our technology, they're making it better." On Earth, Dr. Eleanor Ross was working around the clock in a converted laboratory that had once been a shopping mall. She and her team of scientists had been given pieces of destroyed alien ships, and they were learning faster than anyone thought possible. "The alien power systems are incredibly efficient," Elena explained to General Amy Stone during a video call, "but they're also very rigid. They're designed to work in exactly one way. Humans think differently. We see a power system and immediately start thinking about other ways to use it." Elena held up a small device that glowed with blue light. "This is an alien power cell that we've modified. The original could power their hand weapons for about 6 months. Our version can power one of our tanks for a week, or we can overload it and use it as a bomb that's 10 times more powerful than anything we had before." General Stone smiled for the first time in weeks. "Elena, you and your team are giving us hope. How quickly can you produce more of these modifications?" "We're already building them, General. But there's something else. We captured an intact alien computer system yesterday, and I think we're close to breaking their communication codes." The breakthrough came when engineer Rick Johnson, working with Elena's team, discovered that alien computer systems were vulnerable to a very specific type of virus. The aliens had never encountered computer warfare because no other species had developed the concept. It's like their security was designed to stop people from walking through a door, Rick explained to Captain Steve Davis, but nobody ever thought about what would happen if someone just broke down the wall next to the door. Steve had been leading successful raids against alien positions for 2 weeks now, using tactics that confused the Zeltharian ground forces. His latest mission had captured not just alien weapons and equipment, but also 3 alien soldiers who were now being questioned by human intelligence teams. "What we're learning from the prisoners is fascinating," Colonel Grace Turner told the daily command meeting. "The aliens have a very rigid command structure. They follow orders exactly, and they don't improvise. When we do something unexpected, it takes them a long time to adapt." Dr. Nina Bell, a psychologist who had been studying alien behavior, added her observations. "The Zeltharians seem to approach warfare like a science experiment. They have procedures for everything, and they expect those procedures to work. When humans do something outside their procedures, they get confused." General Stone listened to these reports with growing interest. "So you're saying that our biggest advantage is being unpredictable?" "Exactly," Nina replied. "The aliens have conquered hundreds of worlds, but they've always faced species that fought in predictable ways. Humans don't seem to have that limitation." This was proven dramatically when Captain Steve Davis led what would become known as the mining equipment assault, using modified construction vehicles and improvised weapons. His team successfully captured a small Zeltharian command ship that had landed for repairs. The operation should have been impossible. The alien ship was protected by advanced shields and defended by trained soldiers with superior weapons. But Steve's team approached the problem like humans solving a puzzle rather than soldiers following a battle plan. "We couldn't break through their front shields," Steve explained to the amazed command staff. "So we used mining drills to tunnel under their ship and come up through the floor. Their shields protected them from attacks from above and around, but nobody had ever attacked them from below." The captured ship provided Elena and her team with intact alien technology that accelerated their research dramatically. More importantly, it provided something else entirely: proof that humans could win. Lieutenant Commander Kate Morgan was one of the pilots who had survived the first battle. She had been flying modified human ships equipped with alien technology, and she was learning to think like both a human and an alien at the same time. "The alien ships are faster and stronger than ours," Kate reported after her latest mission, "but they're also predictable. They have standard maneuvers for every situation. Once you know what they're going to do, you can plan 3 moves ahead." Kate had developed new tactics that combined human creativity with alien technology. Her squadron was achieving success rates that impressed even the aliens. In fact, Admiral Kextar had specifically mentioned her unit in his increasingly desperate reports to the Zeltharian Council. "The humans have a pilot they call Kate Morgan." Admiral Kextar reported to the Council via long-range communication. "She has personally destroyed 17 of our ships, and her tactics are being copied by other human pilots. Our fighter pilots report that engaging her squadron is like fighting ghosts." The council member who responded was clearly concerned. "Admiral, your report suggests that a primitive species is adapting to our technology faster than should be possible. How do you explain this?" Admiral Kextar had been asking himself the same question for weeks. "Honored Council, I believe we may have underestimated human intelligence. Their approach to problem solving is unlike anything in our database. They seem to view each battle as a new puzzle to solve rather than following established military doctrine. What the Admiral didn't know was that humans were already planning their next move. Engineer Rick Johnson had successfully infiltrated the alien communication network, and Earth's forces were listening to every Zeltharian transmission. "We know where their supply ships are coming from," Rick announced during a command meeting, "and we know when the next shipment is arriving." General Stone studied the intelligence reports. The alien supply convoy would arrive in 4 days, carrying ammunition, fuel, and replacement parts for the Zeltharian fleet. If humans could capture or destroy that convoy, the alien forces would be seriously weakened. "Steve, can your teams handle a space-based operation?" General Stone asked. Captain Steve Davis smiled. "General, we've been modifying some of the alien ships we captured. Kate's pilots have been training my teams for zero-gravity combat. We're ready." Dr. Elena Ross had been working on something special for this mission: human weapons that used alien technology but followed human design principles. The results were weapons that the aliens wouldn't recognize or know how to defend against. "These won't look like anything in their database," Elena explained, showing prototypes to the assault team. "They'll work like alien weapons, but they'll behave in ways the aliens never considered." As the teams prepared for what would be humanity's first offensive operation against the Zeltharian fleet, a new feeling was spreading through Earth's defenders. For the first time since the invasion began, Humans believed they could actually win. Admiral Kekstar, studying reports of increased human activity, felt something he had never experienced in 3,000 years of military service: doubt. The humans were planning something, and for the first time in his career, he had no idea what to expect. The war was about to take a turn that would shock both species, and the Zeltharian Council was about to learn why humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. 6 months after the invasion began, something happened that no one in the Zeltharian Empire thought was possible. Lieutenant Commander Kate Morgan led a combined human force in the first successful attack against a major alien stronghold on Mars, and the result sent shockwaves through the entire Zeltharian fleet. Kate stood on the bridge of the captured alien ship New Hope, which had been completely rebuilt using human engineering principles combined with alien technology. Her crew was a mix of former Earth defense pilots and soldiers who had learned to operate alien systems better than the aliens themselves. "Target acquired," reported her tactical officer, Commander Tony Clark. "The Zeltharian base on Mars has approximately 50 ships in defensive positions, plus ground installations." Kate studied the tactical display. 6 months ago, 50 alien ships would have been impossible to defeat. Now, with their hybrid technology and new tactics, it was a challenging but winnable fight. "All ships, this is Kate Morgan. Remember, we don't fight like they expect us to fight. Alpha Squadron, begin the distraction pattern. Beta Squadron, prepare for the underground approach." The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for centuries. Kate's forces used tactics that seemed impossible to the Zeltharian defenders. Human ships appeared to attack from one direction, then suddenly emerged from completely different positions. When the aliens adapted to one strategy, the humans immediately switched to something else entirely. Admiral Kekstar watched the battle from his flagship with growing horror. His forces on Mars were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that refused to follow any logical military doctrine. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his tactical officers. "Our sensors show human ships in one location, then the same ships attack from somewhere else entirely." Commander Vexto studied the incoming reports with confusion. "Admiral, it appears the humans are using our own tunnel systems against us. They're moving through the underground passages on Mars and emerging behind our defensive lines." "That's impossible. Those tunnels are too small for their ships." "Sir, they're not using ships. They're using soldiers with portable alien weapons that they've modified. Our ground forces report that humans are appearing inside our own base." Captain Steve Davis was leading exactly that kind of assault. His special operations team had spent weeks studying the Martian base through captured alien surveillance equipment. They had found weaknesses that the aliens never considered. Space is too small for Zeltharian soldiers but perfect for humans, and ventilation systems that could be used as highways for a well-trained team. "Delta Team, you're clear to proceed to the power station," Steve whispered into his communication device. His soldiers moved through the alien base like shadows, using modified alien technology to disable security systems and eliminate guards without raising alarms. Dr. Elena Ross had provided Steve's team with weapons that the aliens couldn't detect with their standard sensors. The devices used alien power sources but human design principles, creating tools that were invisible to Zeltharian security systems. Within hours, the human assault teams had taken control of the Martian base from the inside, while Kate's fleet destroyed the defending ships from the outside. For the first time in 3,000 years, a Zeltharian stronghold had fallen to enemy forces. The news of the Mars victory reached Earth and caused celebrations in every city. General Amy Stone addressed the world from her command center, with images of the captured Martian base displayed behind her. "Today, humanity has proven that we will not only defend our home, but we will take the fight to those who threaten us. The alien base on Mars is now under human control, and we're learning more about our enemies every day." But the victory had consequences that reached far beyond Earth. When news of the defeat reached the Zeltharian Council, it caused the first emergency session in over 1,000 years. Senior researcher Thissika, the Council's leading expert on alien species, presented his analysis to the assembled leaders. "Honored Council, the humans represent a type of intelligence we have never encountered. Our standard conquest protocols are not only failing, they're actually helping the humans become stronger." The council leader, an ancient Zeltharian who had overseen hundreds of conquests, struggled to understand the report.
Explain how a primitive species can defeat our forces.
They're not primitive, Thisica replied. They're different. Every other species we've conquered follows logical patterns of behavior. When faced with superior force, they surrender or retreat. When their technology is inferior, they accept defeat. Humans do the opposite. They become more creative when they're losing. Dr. Nina Bell, working with human intelligence teams, had reached the same conclusion from the other direction. She was studying captured Zeltharian soldiers and learning about their psychology. The aliens think like a computer, Nina explained to General Stone. They have a program for every situation, and they follow that program exactly. When humans do something outside their program, they don't know how to respond. This understanding led to the development of what became known as chaos, tactics and military strategies designed specifically to confuse and overwhelm alien decision-making. Processes physicist Carlos Reed, working with Elena's technology team, made another breakthrough that changed the course of the war. General, we figured out how to jam their communication systems, not just block them. We can actually send false information through their own networks. Engineer Alex Kim had been working on a related project. We can make their ships think they're receiving orders from their own command structure. We can turn their rigid command system against them. The first test of these new capabilities came when a Zeltharian relief fleet arrived to retake Mars. Admiral Kextar had requested reinforcements, expecting to quickly recapture the lost base and restore order to his conquest. Instead, he found himself facing an enemy that seemed to know his plans before he made them. Human forces anticipated every move, countered every strategy, and used the Zeltharian fleet's own coordination systems against them. Admiral, reported Commander Vextos during the battle, our ships are receiving conflicting orders. Some vessels report that you've ordered them to retreat, while others are being told to advance. Admiral Kextar realized what was happening. The humans have infiltrated our communication systems. They're giving orders to our own ships. The battle for Mars became a complete disaster for the Zeltharian forces. Not only did they fail to retake the base, but they lost additional ships to an enemy that turned their own technology against them. General Pete Harris, who had been coordinating Earth's liberation efforts, received the victory report with satisfaction. Human forces now controlled Mars, had captured dozens of alien ships, and were ready to begin the next phase of their campaign. The aliens made a mistake when they came to our solar system, Pete told his staff officers. They thought they were conquering a primitive planet. Instead, they've given us access to technology that we're using better than they ever did. Dr. Elena Ross had been analyzing the captured alien technology and making discoveries that excited her team. General, the aliens have been using the same basic technology for thousands of years. They've made it more efficient, but they haven't innovated. Humans have been innovating with their technology for 6 months, and we're already ahead of them in some areas. The most significant development came when Elena's team successfully created the first human-designed starship that incorporated alien technology. The ship was faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything in the Zeltharian fleet. Captain Diana Webb was selected to command the new ship, which they named Retribution. Diana had been one of the pilots who survived the first battle, and she had spent months learning to think like both a human tactician and an alien engineer. This ship doesn't just match alien technology, Diana reported after her first test flight. It's better. We've taken their rigid engineering and added human creativity. The result is something they've never seen before. Admiral Kextar, studying intelligence reports about human technological development, felt something approaching despair. In 6 months, humans had gone from a primitive species to a force that could match Zeltharian technology. At this rate, they would soon surpass it entirely. The Admiral composed what he knew would be a difficult report to the Council. For the first time in his career, he was forced to admit that a conquest was not only failing, it was being reversed. Honored Council, he wrote, I must inform you that the human situation has deteriorated beyond our worst projections. They are no longer simply defending their planet. They are actively hunting our forces, and they are winning. The Council's response was immediate and unprecedented. For the first time in 3,000 years, they dispatched their finest military scientists to study an enemy species. What they found would shake the foundations of everything they believed about warfare. intelligence, and their place in the galaxy. 1 year after the failed invasion began, humanity launched something that terrified the Zeltharian Council more than any military defeat: their first interstellar counteroffensive. Captain Diana Webb stood on the bridge of the Retribution as it prepared to leave Earth's solar system, leading a fleet of 12 hybrid human-alien ships toward Zeltharian space. "All ships report ready?" "Captain," announced her tactical officer, Lieutenant Troy Foster. Troy had been one of the engineers who helped design their new ships, and he understood the technology better than most aliens. Diana looked at the tactical display showing their destination, a Zeltharian supply depot 3 light-years away. Intelligence gathered from captured aliens had revealed the location, and human analysis had identified it as a critical weakness in the alien supply chain. "Begin jump sequence," Diana ordered.
"Let's show them that humans don't just defend, we attack." The human fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel using modified alien technology.
But unlike Zeltharian ships, which followed predictable travel routes, the human vessels used random jump patterns that made them nearly impossible to track. Admiral Kextar received the news of the human departure with dread. "They're leaving their solar system," he reported to the Council via emergency communication. "The humans are taking the war to our territory." Senior researcher Thessica, who had been studying human behavior for months, was not surprised. "Admiral, this follows their established pattern. Humans don't think defensively. When threatened, they eliminate the source of the threat. But they have no experience with interstellar warfare," Admiral Kextar protested. "They've never seen our core territories or fought against our prepared defenses." "Admiral," Thessica replied grimly, 6 months ago they had no experience with space warfare at all. That didn't stop them from defeating your fleet." Dr. Sandra Clark, working with Earth's Intelligence Division, had been studying captured Zeltharian star charts and communication records. What she discovered changed humanity's understanding of their place in the galaxy. "General Stone," Sandra reported during a secure communication, "the aliens haven't just been conquering random planets. They've been building a systematic empire that spans hundreds of worlds, and from what we can tell, every species they've conquered is still alive but enslaved." General Amy Stone studied the star charts that Sandra's team had decoded. "How many species are we talking about?" "At least 50 different civilizations, possibly more. The Zeltharians don't destroy the species they conquer. They integrate them into their empire as workers and soldiers." This revelation changed everything about humanity's war strategy. They weren't just fighting for Earth. They were potentially fighting for the freedom of entire galactic civilizations. Commander Troy Foster, leading the reconnaissance mission aboard the Retribution, made first contact with one of these enslaved species when his team successfully infiltrated the Zeltharian supply depot. "Captain Webb," Troy reported from the captured facility, "you need to see this. The workers here aren't Zeltharians. They're from a species called the Cathara, and they're definitely not here by choice." The Cathara were a blue-skinned species with large eyes who had been conquered by the Zeltharians 50 years earlier. When Troy's team freed them from the depot, their reaction was not what anyone expected. Instead of gratitude, the Cathara showed fear, not of their Zeltharian captors, but of their human liberators, Dr. Nina Bell, who had joined the mission as a specialist in alien psychology, interviewed the freed Cathara workers. "They're terrified of us," she reported to Captain Webb. "From their perspective, we're a species that defeated the Zeltharians in direct combat. They think we're even more dangerous than their previous captors." This was humanity's first lesson in galactic politics. The species that the Zeltharians had conquered over thousands of years had learned to survive through submission and cooperation. The concept of successful resistance was so foreign to them that they couldn't understand it. Captain Steve Davis, now leading expanded special operations across multiple star systems, discovered the same pattern on every world they liberated. The freed species were grateful but cautious, unsure whether human liberation was better than Zeltharian oppression. "It's like they've forgotten how to be free," Steve reported after liberating a Zeltharian mining colony. "These people have been slaves for so long that they don't know how to make their own decisions." General Lisa Hayes, who had been promoted to oversee humanity's expanding interstellar operations, faced a problem that no military leader in Earth's history had ever encountered: how to govern an empire they never intended to create. "We didn't set out to conquer the galaxy," Lisa explained to the Earth Defense Council. "We just wanted to eliminate the threat to Earth. But every Zeltharian facility we capture contains enslaved species that look to us for protection." Dr. Elena Ross, continuing her technology development from captured alien research facilities, made discoveries that explained why the Zeltharians had been so successful for so long. "Their technology is designed for control," Elena reported from a captured Zeltharian research station. "Every device, every system, every protocol is built around the assumption that one species controls all others. They never considered the possibility of an alliance between equals. This insight led to humanity's most important innovation, the concept of voluntary alliance rather than conquest. Instead of replacing Zeltharian control with human control, they offered something the galaxy had never seen. Partnership engineer Rick Johnson, working with representatives from 12 different species, developed communication and coordination systems that allowed multiple species to work together as equals. The aliens built their empire on the idea that one species must dominate all others, Rick explained. "We're building something based on the idea that different species can work together." The results were immediate and dramatic. Species that had served the Zeltharians out of fear began voluntarily joining human-led alliances out of hope. Word spread through the galaxy that there was an alternative to Zeltharian rule. Commander Tony Clark, leading diplomatic missions to newly liberated worlds, reported a phenomenon that amazed human leadership. "General Hayes, we're receiving requests for alliance from species we haven't even contacted yet. The idea of voluntary cooperation is spreading faster than our ships can travel." Admiral Kextar, watching his empire crumble from within, made increasingly desperate attempts to stop the human advance. But every action he took seemed to make the situation worse. "The humans aren't just defeating our forces," he reported to the Council in his daily briefing. "They're converting our own allies against us. Species that have served the Empire for centuries are declaring independence and requesting human protection." The council member who responded was clearly struggling to understand the reports. How can a species we've never heard of be dismantling an empire we spent 3,000 years building? "Because they fight with ideas as well as weapons," Admiral Kextar replied. "Every species they encounter learns that resistance is possible. Every world they liberate becomes a symbol of hope for others." Captain Diana Webb, now commanding a fleet of 30 ships from 8 different species, received a communication that changed the entire nature of the conflict. The message came from the Zeltharian homeworld itself. "Captain Webb," the transmission began, "this is Council Member Thisica of the Zeltharian Empire. I am requesting a meeting to discuss terms." For the first time in their 3,000-year history, the Zeltharians were ready to negotiate. Dr. Sandra Clark, analyzing the intelligence data from their expanding operations, delivered a report that summarized the situation perfectly. "General Hayes, we've reached a tipping point. The Zeltharian Empire is collapsing not because we're militarily superior, but because we've introduced ideas that their entire civilization can't handle." "What kind of ideas?" General Hayes asked. "The idea that war doesn't have to end in conquest. The idea that different species can work together as equals. The idea that freedom is worth fighting for even when the odds seem impossible." As humanity prepared for their first diplomatic contact with the Zeltharian Council, they realized that they had accidentally started something much larger than a war for Earth's survival. They had begun a revolution that was reshaping the entire galaxy. The council that had once ruled hundreds of worlds was about to discover that some ideas are more powerful than the largest fleet, and that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their tactics, but their belief that everyone deserved to be free. 2 years after first contact, the Galactic Council convened the most important emergency session in their 3,000-year history. The Great Chamber on the Zeltharian homeworld, which had once echoed with the sounds of conquest reports and expansion plans, now filled with desperate voices discussing their empire's collapse. Council leader Thex Malik, ancient even by Zeltharian standards, stood before representatives from across their crumbling empire. "In 2 years," he announced to the assembled leaders, "we have lost more territory than in the previous 1,000 years combined. The human infection has spread beyond anything we could have predicted." Ambassador Tony Clark sat in the chamber as Earth's first galactic representative, surrounded by aliens who had ruled the galaxy since before humans discovered fire. 6 months of careful negotiation had led to this moment. But Tony knew that the real power in the room wasn't military might. It was the fear of ideas that couldn't be stopped with weapons. "Honored Council," Tony said when called upon to speak. "Humanity didn't come here to destroy your empire. We came here because you attacked our home. But we've learned something important during this conflict. Freedom is contagious." Senior researcher Tisaka, who had spent 2 years studying human behavior, presented his final analysis to the council. "The humans have accomplished something we believed was impossible. They have convinced other species to fight for concepts rather than survival." "Explain," demanded Council Leader Thex Malik. "Every species we have conquered over 3 millennia has fought for their survival when threatened. When they realized they could not win, they surrendered and accepted integration into our empire. Humans fight for ideas, freedom, equality, self-determination. These concepts do not die when humans die, and they spread to other species who learn that resistance is possible." Admiral Janet Ross, now commanding the largest human fleet in galactic history, received regular reports of Zeltharian worlds declaring independence. Her ships weren't conquering these planets. They were simply accepting requests for protection from species who had decided they wanted to govern themselves. "Admiral," reported her intelligence officer, Commander Lisa Park, "we've received independence declarations from 17 more worlds this week. They're not asking us to rule them. They want to establish their own governments under human protection." Janet studied the tactical displays showing the current state of the galaxy. Zeltharian-controlled space had shrunk to less than half its original size, but humanity controlled very little territory directly. Instead, they had created something unprecedented, a voluntary alliance of free species. Dr. Sam Johnson, Earth's leading expert on galactic politics, had been working with representatives from 43 different species to develop new forms of government based on human principles. "What we're creating has never existed before," Sam reported to Earth's leadership, "an interstellar civilization based on consent rather than conquest." The breakthrough came when Dr. Elena Ross, working with scientists from multiple species, made a discovery that revolutionized galactic technology. "The Zeltharians designed their technology around control," Elena explained to the council session via long-range communication. "Every system assumes that one species dominates all others. When you redesign technology around cooperation, you get results that are impossible under the old system." Elena's team had developed faster-than-light communication, improved energy systems, and medical technology that surpassed anything in Zeltharian databases. The key was designing systems that enhanced the natural abilities of multiple species rather than suppressing them. Council member Thesica understood the implications immediately. "They're not just militarily superior," he told his fellow council members during a private session. "They're technologically advancing faster than us because they're using the combined intelligence of multiple species working together." Captain Steve Davis, now coordinating liberation efforts across an entire spiral arm of the galaxy, discovered that the concept of human military tactics was spreading even faster than human technology. Species that had never seen a human were developing their own versions of chaos tactics and creative warfare. "It's like we started a fire that's spreading on its own," Steve reported during a strategic planning session. "Species are learning to fight like humans without ever meeting us." The final crisis came when the Cathara, one of the first species liberated by human forces, successfully rebelled against a Zeltharian stronghold using purely their own forces. The blue-skinned aliens had learned human tactical principles and applied them with their own species' unique abilities. "This changes everything," Admiral Kekstar reported to the council in what would be his final military briefing. "The humans haven't just defeated us, they've taught other species how to defeat us. We're facing rebellion on every world and we don't have enough forces to stop it." Council leader Thex Malik realized that the Zeltharian Empire faced a choice between transformation and extinction. The old system of conquest and control was not just failing, it was becoming impossible to maintain. "Ambassador Clark," the council leader said during the climactic session, "humanity has presented us with terms for ending this conflict. We are prepared to consider them." Tony Clark stood before the assembled council, representing not just humanity but the hopes of hundreds of species across the galaxy. "The terms are simple," he said. "Complete transformation of galactic civilization based on principles of equality, self-determination, and voluntary cooperation. Every species governs itself. No species rules over others. Conflicts are resolved through negotiation rather than conquest. And if we refuse, asked Council Member Thisica, then the war continues until every species in the galaxy is free to choose its own destiny, Tony replied calmly. But we'd prefer to build a new civilization together, rather than destroy the old one completely. The Council deliberated for 3 days while rebellion spread to more Zeltharian worlds. General Pete Harris, coordinating humanity's military forces, reported that they were receiving requests for assistance faster than they could respond. The revolution has taken on a life of its own, Pete told Earth's leadership. We're not leading it anymore, we just started it. Every species that gains freedom teaches others how to do the same. Dr. Nina Bell, studying the psychological impact of the conflict on Zeltharian society, made an observation that would prove crucial to the final negotiations. The aliens aren't evil, she reported. They're trapped in a system that they created but can no longer control. They're as much prisoners of their empire as the species they conquered. This insight led to humanity's final offer, not the destruction of Zeltharian civilization, but its transformation into something that could coexist with free species. We're offering them a chance to join the galactic community as equals, Tony explained to the Council during the final session. They can keep their homeworlds and their culture, but they can't rule over others. The decision that followed would reshape galactic history. After 3,000 years of ruling through conquest, the Zeltharian Council voted to voluntarily dissolve their empire and join the new Galactic Alliance as an equal member. Council leader Thex Malik made the announcement that ended the age of galactic empires. The Council has decided to accept human terms. The Zeltharian Empire is dissolved. All member species are granted immediate independence. We will join the new Galactic Alliance as the Zeltharian Republic. Dr. Sandra Clark, analyzing the final intelligence reports, delivered a summary that captured the magnitude of what had occurred. In 2 years, humanity has transformed a galaxy ruled by conquest into a civilization based on cooperation. The change isn't just political, it's fundamental. No species will ever again accept domination as inevitable. As news of the transformation spread across the galaxy, celebrations erupted on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were suddenly free to determine their own futures. Admiral Janet Ross, commanding the honor guard for the signing ceremony, reflected on how far humanity had come since that first desperate battle at Earth. We set out to defend our home, she told her crew, and we ended up liberating a galaxy. The signing ceremony took place on a neutral world, with representatives from over 100 species witnessing the birth of the Galactic Alliance. The document they signed established principles that had never existed in galactic law: the right of every species to self-determination, the equality of all sentient beings, and the resolution of conflicts through cooperation rather than conquest. Tony Clark, signing as Earth's representative, realized that humanity had accidentally accomplished something that military historians would study for millennia. They had won a war not through superior force, but by teaching their enemies and their allies that there was a better way to live. The galaxy would never be the same. And as the former council members signed the agreement that ended their empire, they understood that they had encountered something far more dangerous than any weapon, an idea whose time had come. Freedom, once experienced, could never be forgotten, and humanity had given the galaxy a gift that would echo through the stars for generations to come.